بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا فمن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. So Imam Ghazali begins, he says, ثم علم, then know, إن التصوف له خصلتان الاستقامة والسكون عن الخلق. He said, know that being sincere in your spirituality, and he uses the word tasawwuf, right? This is a very controversial, very polarizing term. Some people refer to themselves as Sufis. Some people do not. We are not going to debate the merits or demerits of referring to yourself as Sufi or not. For the purpose of this session, just know that the term Sufi here refers to a person of great sincerity. This is what he's referring to. He says, sincerity in your religious commitment is made up of two essential characteristics. The first component he mentions is istiqama, being morally upright. Notice that he did not mention anything about miracles. He did not mention anything about your spiritual state, what you feel, things you see in your dreams, just being a good person. This is what he means by istiqama. You know, I've told this story a lot of times, but it's one of my favorite stories that I've heard from my teachers, that there was a session about spirituality taking place. And the sheikh was teaching about what's called kharqul ada. Kharqul ada refers to a break in the regular or natural chain of events, right? And there's a lot of khawariqul ada, when something unusual happens in the cosmos. If that unusual thing happens at the hands of a prophet, we call it a miracle. If that unusual thing happens at the hands of a righteous woman or a righteous man, we call it a karama. But if that unusual or miraculous occurrence happens at the hands of a wicked person, we call it istidraj. Right? Remember, even the Dajjal will be able to perform miraculous feats. But the Sheikh didn't make it that far in the lesson. He only got to mu'jizat, miraculous occurrences that happen at the hands of the Anbiya and the Rusul, the prophets and the messengers, and he got to karamat, miraculous occurrences that happen at the hands of righteous people. And there was a sister in the classroom, and she's like, Sheikh, before I embraced Islam, I was a witch. Everybody in the room was like, yo. And she said, I attended a conference of witches and warlocks. I actually did not know prior to this story that a warlock is the male equivalent of a witch. I attended a conference of witches and warlocks. And then I will never forget, the conference was in Geneva, Switzerland. That's where the conference was held. And she said the highest ranking member of our assembly, when he wanted to change positions in the room, he would just levitate from one place to another place. And I was thinking the same thing that you're thinking. Sister, you got to check the expiration date on your guacamole. Because, right? Those brownies that you've been eating are not just Hostess or, it's not just sea salt on those. And then she added, I have never had any experiences with external stimuli. I have never used hallucinogenic drugs. I saw this with my own eyes, and I am a healthy woman. How do you explain this? And the sheikh said, well, If you go out to the airport, you'll see people flying around all over the place. People of true spirituality are not impressed by miraculous occurrences. You know what impresses them? Good character, istiqamah, uprightness. All kinds of people can do all kinds of things in the khalq of Allah. What impresses me is not a person flying through the sky or walking on water or being supposedly in two places at once. Or what impresses me is a person that fulfills her oaths, keeps his promises, is good to his wife, good to her husband, takes care of her children, good to his colleagues, good to his neighbors. This is what impresses me. Not a person that can, fly. I said, good to his children. Boy, it's difficult. Why you just walk in front like that, Josh? I remember my friend, Dr. Bilal Ware, he told me a story about the great Sheikh Ahmed Ubamba. And he said that Sheikh Ahmed Ubamba was being imprisoned on a French military barge, a French ship. And he asked if he could pray. And the French authorities told him no. It was Asr time. The time for Asr, Han al-Waqt, li Salat al-Asr. The time for Salat al-Asr came, and he asked if he could pray. And they said no. So the story goes, he took his sajada, he took his prayer mat, he rolled the prayer mat onto the Atlantic Ocean. He made Salat al-Asr, rolled the prayer mat up, got back on the boat. Now you're probably thinking, man, if he could do that, why was he in prison? That's what I was thinking. But I was shocked. And I wanted to know all of the details about how did he do this? And he said, you see, that's our problem. You're impressed that he made the prayer on water. You should be impressed that he made the prayer on time. You see, that's istiqamah. See, we want to know he made the prayer on water. Oh man, he made the prayer on time. That's istiqamah. So the first thing that Ghazali says, true spiritual excellence and sincerity, istiqamah, being a good, upright person. Somebody came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said, Ya Rasulullah, what's the best deed that I can do? And the Prophet alayhi wasallam said, Qul la ilaha illallah thumma istaqim. Say there is nothing worthy of worship except God, and be a good person. Just like, sounds like something your grandmother would say, right? Sounds like something your grandfather would say, right? Something your auntie would say, right? Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He didn't say this and jihad fi sabilillah. Qul la ilaha illallah. Say there is nothing worthy of worship except God. Thumma istaqim. Then be a good person. Be an upright person, right? And this is where the focus of true spirituality always lies. In our states, our ahwal. How are you? Sometimes you run into those people, and the only thing they want of the path is that which is sensational. It's like, yo, let's talk about those men and women that could levitate, those people that could fly. Let's talk about, let's sit around telling stories about our mashayikh. One time my sheikh was in Indonesia in the zoo, and a lion broke out of his cage, and my sheikh said, Bismillah, here, kitty, kitty, and took the lion back into his cage. Oh, wow. MashaAllah, it's amazing. I'll tell you something better than that. My sheikh was once in two places at once. He was sitting in my room, and then he looked at me and he said, the messenger of Allah gives you salam. And I said, he's here? No, I'm here, but I'm also in Medina. Whoa! MashaAllah, I'm not, all of these things are within the realm of the mumkinat. This is where the study of aqidah is useful. Somebody tells you something like that, you say, it's possible. But this is not what makes a person a good person. That they take lions and pull them into cages, or they're at two places at one time, or they fly, or they levitate. You know, I remember I was in Yemen, and one of the brothers said, last night I was coming home from the masjid, and I saw one of the mashayikh flying over the masjid. I said, subhanAllah. I said, what happened? He said, I looked at him. What did he do? He looked back at me. What did you say? I said, salam alaikum. What did he say? He said, wa alaikum salam. I'm like, really? Right? And then somebody else said an even more impressive story. You want to know the deepest thing that happened? The person that they were talking about, this is Allahu Akbar. The person they were talking about, that he flew, he actually walked up as they were having this conversation. Stop telling so many stories and let your stories tell you. These people you're talking about, I guarantee you, any spiritual haqiqah, any true reality they gained, they didn't gain it because they sat around telling stories. They gained it because they were good people, because they prayed in the middle of the night and they gave from their wealth to help the less fortunate. They served their mothers. They served their fathers. They were reliable friends. They were good spouses to their partners. They were good parents. That's how they became what they were. Not sitting around telling stories like you guys are telling stories. So Imam Ghazali says the first, khisla, the first characteristic of sincerity in your spiritual striving is istiqamah, being upright. The second characteristic, and this is going to be controversial, I'm expecting a lot of questions around this. وَالسُّكُونُ عَلَى الْخَلْقِ وَالسُّكُونُ عَنِ الْخَلْقِ. Leaving people be. What he means by that? Being someone that does not expect anything of anybody. Now, this goes against the logic of how we talk about relationships. We talk about reciprocity. We talk about mutuality. We talk about, for us, relationships are about accountability, reciprocity, mutuality. Here, he's saying sincerity in your spiritual striving is not expecting anything from anybody. So that, I'll answer the question on the way home, son. I'll answer the question on the way home, inshallah. So that if you are in relationship with somebody and they do something disappointing, this does not mean that you become completely stoic. Like, I don't feel disappointment. I don't feel anger. I don't feel frustration. I don't feel betrayal. No, what it means is that you accept this from them as an extension or an expression of their human weakness. One of your friends betrays you. You say, he's a human being. She's a human being. Somebody that you love lets you down. I'm sure she did her best. I'm sure he did his best. That doesn't mean that you have to stay in that relationship in the same way, but that the actions of people don't weigh so heavily on your heart. Meaning you allow them their own spiritual struggles. I remember reading this for the first time many, many years ago, and it made me think about a lot of the resentment that I had been carrying toward my father. Don't mean to get so personal and so deep, but not in this book, but in another book, they talked about as-sukunu an al-khalq, leaving people be. My father really, really disappointed me. Your father's about to disappoint you. You don't get over that. My father really, really disappointed me not being there for me. Not being there for me. It was very disappointing to me. And for a long time, I harbored great resentment and great grief about that. Imam Ghazali is saying, let it go. Doesn't mean that you're stoic. Doesn't mean that you don't feel anything, but you let it go as the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it's what Allah decreed. It was the best they could offer in their fallible, fallen, flawed humanity. And I accept it, man. You will make the decision whether or not you want to forgive and reestablish the relationship, or forgive and just step back. But you don't hold this weight, like, this person did this to me. They hurt me. And finding a way to be relieved of that. Hey, you know, she cheated on you. He cheated on you. That was the best that they could do. They're human. It's time to move on. Very, very easy to say, very difficult to practice. And this is why Imam Ghazali mentions it as one of the characteristics of spiritual excellence. Inna tasawwufa as-sukun an al-khalq. Letting people be. It's okay. It's okay. He continues. فمن استقام وأحسن خلقه بالناس وعاملهم بالحلم. He said, whoever is upright and is excellent in her character and deals with people on the basis of hilm. The word hilm in Arabic means forbearance, to be patient. You know, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of all of the characteristics that define him, some scholars say hilm, he was halim, he was forbearing, he was long suffering, meaning he could tolerate someone's bad character or someone's bad company longer than anybody else. This is what made him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So these stories that you've heard since Sunday school, these are real stories. Like that the Prophet ﷺ had a neighbor that would dump trash on his doorstep every day. This is how the neighbor disposed of their trash. Here, you take this. And the Prophet ﷺ would just come out of his house and clean up the trash. One day he comes out of his house, he doesn't see the trash there. Many of us, we come out of our house, we don't smell this disgusting smell of trash. We would be delighted. The Prophet ﷺ said, I don't see the trash today. Maybe something happened to him. Maybe something is wrong. I don't see the trash. Maybe something is going on. He knocks on the door, he inquires. I came out of my house today, I didn't see trash. I was worrying if something was wrong with you. This is your messenger. This is not apologist Islam. These are not stories fabricated and formulated in the 21st century. These are ancient, rigorously authenticated stories about the Prophet ﷺ. I answered the question in the car. I didn't see trash on my doorstep, and I was worried that something was wrong. The son said, yeah, as a matter of fact, my father might be in his dying moments. He might be on his deathbed, which is probably why he didn't go out and dump the trash on your porch. The Prophet ﷺ went, inquired about his neighbor. How are you? Just upon seeing this forbearance, the man said to his son, accept the religion of Abu al-Qasim. This was the kunya of the Prophet ﷺ, because this is not the behavior of a liar. See, this is the forbearance of the Prophet ﷺ. People dumped camel entrails on him. He was accosted by his people. Attempts on his life were made. They say at the Battle of Uhud, the Prophet ﷺ, he had a dir'ah. The word dir'ah in Arabic is a shield. And he was holding the shield. You know, one of the most interesting things about the Prophet ﷺ in battle is that he did not fight from like a command post. He would be in the ranks with other troops. Sometimes the Sahaba would say, whenever we saw the fighting, wherever it was most fierce, this is where you would see the Messenger of Allah. So he's there with other troops. He has a dir'ah, he has a shield. They got so close, the Quraysh got so close to the Prophet ﷺ, that someone took the shield and pushed it into his mouth, right? So they took the hilt of their sword and pushed the shield into his mouth. It cracked 3 of his teeth, and it made his gums start bleeding. And as his mouth was bleeding, he was catching the blood, not allowing it to fall to the earth. And the Sahaba, in the midst of battle, they said, what are you doing? And the Prophet ﷺ said, no people sheds the blood of their prophet except that God punishes those people. I don't want this to happen to them. I don't want this to happen to them. Then the prophet said, they're fighting us and we are upon God's truth. They don't know what they're doing. This is hilm, this is forbearance. They don't know what they're doing. They're trying to kill us. They don't know what they're doing. He's catching the blood so that it doesn't fall upon the ground, right? This is forbearance. Imam Ghazali is saying, if you want to be a person of spiritual excellence, start dealing with people on the basis of forbearance. Amen. I forgive you. I accept you. You know, once a group of students were sitting with Dr. Amar Farooq Abdullah, Hafidhahullah, may Allah preserve him. And he said something to the effect of, as you get older, and your dealing with people becomes more prolonged, you will inevitably encounter more disappointment. Inevitably. From the people you love. If God blesses you, you will be able to countenance that disappointment, or you will be able to see that disappointment through a prism of mercy. That's hard. This person let me down, man. This person betrayed me. This is supposed to be my ace. He played me. She was supposed to be my BFF. I can't believe she said that about me. But you can see that through a prism of mercy. And that doesn't mean, you know, hey, if you stole from me, I'm going to leave my wallet out in front of you again. No. I'm from out south. You get me once, you never get me twice. But the fact that you did it, I don't know what was going through your mind at the time. And I don't know if I had been in a similar situation. Maybe I would have done the same. I don't know. I just pray that Allah doesn't put me in a situation where I would have to take anything that's not mine. But people that are in that situation, I don't know, right? And you refrain from, you know, summary judgment. You can look at the act and say that was bad. But looking at the person, again, I don't know. You know, it was a brother. And I saw this brother over the weekend, but he told me that maybe the craziest story I had ever heard in the Muslim community. He said he was sitting in the mosque, and he said at this time he was really out there bad, you know, having a really tough bout with heroin addiction. He said he was sitting at MCC, and he said a jama'ah, a group of Muslims came into MCC, and with them was the one and only Jermaine Jackson, the brother of Michael Jackson. Jermaine Jackson, the brother of Michael Jackson, used to do the work of da'wah and tabligh. He used to go out in Jama'ah, Jermaine Jackson. And he said that, these are his words. He said that when Jermaine Jackson came into the masjid and sat his shoes on the shelf, these were the most beautiful shoes he had ever seen in his life. He said, but these were the most beautiful shoes I had ever seen in my life. And he said, right there, I formed an intention to steal the shoes. He said, as soon as I saw the shoes, I said, oh, I'm cuffing these. I'm stealing them. I am definitely stealing those shoes. Hold on, son. I'm going to take these shoes. I'm going to sell them, and I'm going to buy me a bag. This is what is about to happen. And he said that Jermaine Jackson could sense that maybe he wanted to steal the shoes. And he said that Jermaine just kept asking him, my brother, is there anything I can do for you? I mean, if you need any help, the only thing you need to do is ask me. Is there anything you need? Do you need something? And he said, just that act of generosity and tenderness filled him with so much shame that not only could he not steal his shoes, he said that was the beginning of him wanting to change his life. Something like that. And then he started to turn it around. I saw him a complete 180. Sober, now I think 3 or 4 years. At that time, he had very, very bad cataracts. He had gone blind. He had fallen off the L train platform 3 or 4 times. He was having he was just in a miserable position. And we were having lunch over the weekend, and he said, you know, Ubayd, even before the encounter I had with Jermaine and all of that, you would see me around the masjid, know that I was up to no good, know that probably, 8-10 hours before that, I was sitting somewhere with a spike in my arm. But you were one of the people that didn't seem to give up on me, didn't seem to judge me. That meant the world to me at that time. This is what Imam Ghazali is talking, as-sukunu an al-khalq, dealing with people on the basis of hilm. You don't know what's going on with them. You don't know what brought them to the place that they find themselves. You don't know. Doesn't mean that you accept disrespect or you accept a person mistreating you, but my sister Mecca Ali, she said to me once, we were in a class, and I forget where she got the quote from, but she said, we should be impressed at the burdens that people carry and not how they carry them. Right? Wow, you have to carry that. Wow. I don't know how I would be if I had to carry that. Right? He continues. Imam Ghazali continues. وَالْإِسْتِقَامَةِ هِيَ أَنْ يَفْدِيَ حَظَّ نَفْسِهِ لِنَفْسِهِ. He said, going back to uprightness, what it means to be an upright person, it is sacrificing what your appetites like for the sake of your soul. That's istiqamah. But he says, and yafdiya hawda nafsihi li nafsihi. Istiqamah, another way to think about being morally upright, is your ability to sacrifice your appetites for what benefits your soul, right? So I want you to think about kind of the framework that he's mentioning there. There are things that you enjoy in the short term. They satisfy your appetites, but they're not good for your soul, right? And there are things that are difficult for you in the short term, but they're good for your soul. Istiqamah, or being upright, is the ability to choose that which is good for your soul, even if your appetites don't like it. That's challenging. Once the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said in an authentic hadith about Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. If the iman, if the faith of Abu Bakr was placed on one side of the scale and the faith of the entire ummah was placed on the other side of the scale, Abu Bakr's faith would outweigh that of the entire community. And someone came to Abu Bakr and they told him about this. Yo, this is what the messenger of God said about you. What did you do? How did you attain such heights in your faith? The first thing Abu Bakr did was he said, praise be to Allah that has covered my sins from people. And he said, trust me, I know myself better than you know me. And God knows me better than I know myself. Oh Allah, I thank you for how you have covered me, and I ask you to make me better than they think I am. Then he said, if I'm going to give you any practical word of advice, there's just two things. One, anytime somebody complimented me, I said exactly what I just said to you right now. That's the first thing, right? Humility. The second thing, if I had to choose between something that would benefit me in the life of this world or something that would benefit me in the akhirah, I always tried as earnestly as possible to choose that which would benefit me in the akhirah. This is what it was. So here Imam Ghazali is saying istiqamah is to give up what your appetites incline toward for that which leads to spiritual elevation, that which benefits your soul. And it's difficult because appetites are strong. In many instances, appetites are instinctual. You know, appetites are pre-rational, things that we want. We don't even know how to think about why we want them. We just want them. You know, I believe it was Thomas Hobbes that said, when you begin, or it might have been Immanuel Kant, but one of them said, or it might have been Rousseau, I'm not sure. I don't know my philosophy as well as I should. But somebody said, some white guy said, when you begin to use your reason, this is just a post hoc justification for what you already want. See, when you're trying to explain to somebody, well, you see, this is just a post hoc justification for what the soul was inclining toward anyway. Who are you fooling? Do you really think you want that for the reasons you just mentioned? And that if those reasons were absent, you wouldn't want it anyway? Nah. You want it because you want it. He said, وَحُسْنَ الْخُلُقِ بِالنَّاسِ, and having good character with people, هو ألا تحمل الناس على مراد نفسك بل تحمل نفسك على مرادهم. Oh, this is tough. He said, to have good character with people is not to treat them as, or to expect of them that they would treat you as you want to be treated. Not even to have that expectation. Like, it is relinquishing the expectation of reciprocity. That I don't even expect you to be as good to me as I'm prepared to be to you. I don't even expect it. Like, I don't even expect it. Like this runs so contrary to how we think about relationships, romantic relationships and friendships. Just think about what that would mean in a romantic relationship or friendship. Like, as I'm doing something for you, the question of whether or not you would do it for me doesn't even cross my mind. Like when I'm loaning my friend, the question of, will she do that for me? Doesn't even cross my mind. I don't even think about it. right? When some brother is calling, asking, would you take me to the airport at 4 a.m.? The question of, would he do that for me? Doesn't even cross Will Caldwell's mind. Doesn't even cross his mind, but he's going to come and pick me up. This is what he's talking about, that you are not in this scorekeeping mode, right? Well, I mean, I'm going to call him to see how he's doing, but I wonder if he would ever call. If I didn't, would he call me? I'm going to call her to see how would she call me? Right? I need help. Do I feel as comfortable as she obviously feels asking me for help? Imam Ghazali is saying, you want to be excellent in your treatment of people, get that out of your mind. Let that go. And you know how you let it go? Understanding that it's not about what they give you. It's not about whether they would or wouldn't. God sees your act. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna Allah la yudi'u ajra al-muhsinin. This is the verse. Bismillah. This is the verse. Inna Allah la yudi'u ajra al-muhsinin. God never allows the reward of people that do good to be lost. You're not anyone who thinks they're manipulating you, or if you're involved in some relationship where things aren't exactly reciprocal, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. God is not going to allow your reward to be lost, right? A man was, sometimes even in simple things, right? The companions of the Prophet, ﷺ, they were people. So once somebody asked, I see somebody and I want to say salam alaikum to them, but I don't know if they would say salam alaikum to me. The Prophet said, what? Al-badi'u bis-salami bari'u min al-kibr. The one that initiates the salam, the sister that picks the phone up first, the brother that picks the phone up first, they know that they're free of arrogance. See, the person is saying, who are you supposed to be? Why would I say salam to you? You're not saying salam to me. Why would I call him? He doesn't call me. There could be some arrogance there, right? Then he says, Bel tahmilu nafsaka ala muradihim. But in terms of what they want from you, you don't expect them to give you what you want. But in terms of what they want from you, you try your best to deliver. Man, this is so counterintuitive, man. Nobody thinks about relationships like this now. In fact, I'm expecting many. What if you feel like you're being manipulated? What if you feel like you're being used? What if you feel like you're being taken advantage of? Mind you, he's saying this is the path of spiritual excellence. That in terms of what you want from me, I try my best to give it to you. What I want from you, I don't even expect you to give it to me. Sounds unfair, right? I mean, let's be honest. Sounds unfair. Sounds unfair. What you want from me, I try my best to deliver. What I want from you, if you can't deliver, I don't hold you accountable. It's okay. Don't worry about it. He says, as long as this ma lam yukhalifu shar'a, as long as this relationship does not entail violating the sharia. And that's it, right? Very difficult to walk that path. But what I can promise you is if one of us decides to adopt that kind of outlook with people we love, there's liberation and there's freedom in that. There's freedom in that. You let me down, I forgive you. And I try, and even then, I'm still not going to let you down to the best of my ability. Right? أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Are there any questions, comments, concerns?
I know we talked about like giving people the benefit of the doubt, but what about the other side? What if we're the person who maybe we let someone down Can you talk? I know that's not really what the lecture was about, but that's just something I was thinking about.
Yeah, the deep thing about this lesson is that it's going both ways all the time, right? The other people should see me in that way. I mean, look, there are people to whom I'm responsible that if they fail to forgive me for the mistakes I've made and ways that I've let them down, I don't have anything else. There's nothing, I wronged you and I'm literally at your mercy. Meaning, if you want to go to God and say this person wronged me, you can do that. But I pray that you will forgive me. And I sincerely ask you to forgive me. And so the lesson for that person is in forgiveness. I'm only human. I'm only human. I did my best. But I think the difficult part about being on that side of having wronged someone is understanding that the relationship might take some time to repair. See, I think, like, at least for me, my problem in that is always impatience. I want you to forgive me and then act like nothing ever happened. Like right now. Like, you're gonna forgive me, I'm gonna make a joke and you're gonna laugh. And then we're gonna go out and get some ice cream. Like none of this ever happened. I think your sincerity is shown in, I ask you to forgive me, and as long as it takes, you take your time. When you're ready, I'll be here. That's sincerity, as long as it takes. Not like, you forgive me, man, I need some time. Well, you need some time. Well, you know what? Forget you then. See, that's how we are. You know what I'm saying? You forgive me. Bro, I invited you into my home and you took something from me. I'm gonna need some time. Oh, so now I guess you the perfect man, huh? You see that there's an indication that, are you really remorseful? Are you really sad about what happened? Because if you really understood the gravity of how you've betrayed me, you'd give me my time. It may start off, then maybe one day, you know what, man, let's go out and play some basketball. Then it might take some time. Can you wait for that? I think sincerity is being able to wait for that. I see you a little upset. I understand. I hope that God will inspire you with the love and forgiveness that will, repair our relationship. But until then, if you need anything, I'm here. And if you ever want to just tell me how you feel or how you felt about what I did, I'm willing to listen and not even immediately respond. And that's hard, man. Let somebody tell you, man, you're supposed to be my man, and you said this, and then you just like, no, I received that. I received that. These are the things that show sincerity, right? These are the things that show sincerity.
So if you find yourself able to change the relationship, the thing has happened, you've separated yourself, you're being as sincere as you can, and you're not trying to go out there letting everybody know like this person dogged me, like whatever, anything like that. But they're hurt by your separation. And now they're telling people things that aren't true. How do you continue with your own sincerity and being a better person in that situation, knowing, even though that's your own journey, to know that this person is human and I need to treat them as human just as I need to treat my own self as human. But they make that harder and harder as you find different strangers popping up. I know all about you when they don't.
Yeah, I think in that, you have to be willing to choose yourself, in the sense that, like, bro, I forgive you. I don't want to sustain the relationship. That happens. I'm not angry at you. I'm not, praying that God destroys you or curses you. I'm not, looking forward to you being held accountable for what you did on Yom Kippur, on the day of judgment. And, it's not like, I go to bed at night thinking, Allah, please get him for what he did to me. just make sure he pays for what he did to me. Just look, things can happen to you where you start out in that place, man. I'm serious. Some of us don't know the extent to which we can be hurt by people, man. Like I've been in situations where you start there. God, get them for what they did to me. I'm just trying to take care of my family. These guys robbed me. I hope all of them die violent deaths for what they did to me. You pull a gun on me and take my money. Like I've been in that place. I hope all of you die. I've been in that place. And it may take a while. It may take a while, right? But if you can get to a place of forgiving, but you have no interest in the relationship, that person must understand that as the consequence of what they've done, no matter what rumors they spread, what they say. Bro, we're not going to be like that. I'm not there. I would be lying to you if I told you I was. I'm not there. It's not going to be like that. Again, I'm not sitting up at night praying that, if you're eating somewhere, you choke on your food. I'm not, ya Allah, if he's eating right now, make him choke. I'm not sitting up at night praying that you choke on your food. I don't have any desire to go to the movies with you, go get a bite to eat, sit down and have a conversation. I don't have any desire to do that. I don't. And we have to know that that's okay, right? That does not negate forgiveness. I don't have any desire to be in your company, but I forgive you. I accept you as a human being. I'm not devastated by the fact that you betrayed me or you let me down. You're a human being, you did, but I don't have any desire to maintain a relationship with you. It's not good for me. I think maturity is like being able to understand that. No matter which side you're on, if you're the person that's deciding, I don't want to be in a relationship with this person. I don't feel good. Or if you're on the other side, like, bro, after what you did, I forgive you, but I'm cool. This is what God wrote, I accept it. If you ever feel differently, I'm here. Right? And I think it takes a great deal of maturity to get to that place on either side. Right? On either side. But you have to just choose yourself and accept it. I'm not there. Yeah, I forgive you, but I'm not there. I'm not there. Right? And we have to be very clear about the fact there's nothing wrong with that. Like that is the person that forgives in that way, to my mind, deeply spiritual, God-fearing person. Like I told you, I forgive you. I just don't want to I don't want to maintain a relationship with you. It's okay. I forgive you though. The story that comes to mind about this is the story, of course, of Wahshi. The Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, of all of his uncles, Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib was his favorite. And Wahshi wasn't a soldier. He was a hired hitman. And a hitman has a very, it's murder and say warfare. All right. I'm talking to my sister, man. Hold on, man. Hold on. A person can say lose someone they love in like a legitimate military conflict, and then meet soldiers from the opposing army years later, and there can be some reconciliation. Like there was a war, you're Japanese, my dad was American, it was World War II, but murder is different than that. It's different, right? So Wahshi was not a combatant. He wasn't like fighting with the Quraysh, and he was just murder for hire. Hind bint Utbah came to him and said, I want you to kill Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib. Kill him and I'll give you your freedom. The battle commenced and Wahshi, went undetected. He had a lance, he had a spear. He impaled Hamza, killed him right there. And later on, Wahshi wanted to become Muslim. And he went and he said to people, I want to become a Muslim. But I wonder if Muhammad can accept me, seeing as though, I murdered his uncle. We all know that I murdered his uncle. Everybody knows that. I murdered his uncle. I know how fond he was of his uncle. And so they went to the Prophet ﷺ and they said, Wahshi wants to embrace Islam. The Prophet said, Islam removes all sins. Any sin that a person committed before Islam is removed by the Islam. Right? And Wahshi can embrace Islam and he's a member of this community. But if I find it difficult to interact with him or to look at him, tell him not to take offense to that. That's the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. No one's heart is like his heart. He's still saying Muslim, no doubt. In the community, no doubt. But I might find it hard, a prophet of God, to just interact casually with my uncle's killer. That might be difficult, right? That might be difficult, right? So, these are real emotions. So a person can decide, certain things, the relationship might be different, but I do forgive you, right? And that's prophetic. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal 'asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus solihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Subhana rabbika rabbil 'izzati 'amma yasifun. Wassalamun 'alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil 'alamin.